I'm Anne Zawwin. I am a commercial healthcare real estate agent. Um, I work for CARR, and we are the nation's leading provider for commercial healthcare services for healthcare buyers and tenants.
Love
So,
that.
yeah.
So when it comes to finding places to, I guess, move in or have a space for the healthcare providers, what type of places are you guys looking for?
Well, a variety of spaces. So there's retail, there's office, medical office buildings.
Yeah.
Um, Depending on the specialty. So healthcare providers, I would, is that's a wide, that's a big variety of like we're talking physicians, doctors, dentists, veterinarians, vision care. So yeah, so it really depends. Med spas,
Wow.
physical therapy. So it really depends on that specific practice, what their needs are. But yeah, it's all different spaces.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. And it's all over the area, I guess Northern Virginia, or do you go other states or
Yeah,
just
so with our brokerage company, we are nationwide. So I personally service Virginia, DC, and Maryland.
wonderful?
So yeah, I go wherever my clients take me.
I love that.
So,
And now give me a little bit of a background about yourself and how you got started in your industry and career.
well, okay, so I'm gonna make it short, but I started as a registered nurse, and so that's where the healthcare background came from. And then I want to say when I was like 22, my husband now introduced me to real estate. So for many years, I was doing healthcare. I was doing healthcare sales by that time, and real estate a lot, together. So I would work Monday through Friday in the hospital, and then evenings and weekends, helping my clients for the real estate part.
Yeah.
And then eventually, got married, have family. I had to pick one industry, so I chose real estate. But then I also was approached by this company, CARR, who specialized in healthcare, and I thought, wow, this is just marrying the two together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, this is just the perfect industry for me. Who I have a passion and love for healthcare, like and healthcare providers. I know how they're my, I work with healthcare providers in the hospital setting for years, and
Yeah.
so. And also just in real estate, just helping people with making a difference in their lives. So in this case, I just felt like this is the perfect niche for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I just hope with my company as well, we only represent tenants and buyers, and so I feel that there's a big need for that. Um, for many years, I was doing, generalist. I was a generalist for real estate, residential, commercial, but now specialized in healthcare. I find that healthcare providers, they are very, they care about their patients.
Yeah.
They care about the community. They want to make a difference in the world. But they're one of the, intelligent people. They're very clinically and medically minded, and they forget, and then the business part of it is not something that they
Specialize in.
they especially what they learn from school, right?
Yeah.
And so I just kind of stumbling upon this specialty or this niche is that I find that they are being taken advantage of by landlords, and just like really losing a lot of money on the table when they negotiate on their leases or their real estate transaction. That's kind of like how I end up where I am now.
Yeah.
It's just, just helping healthcare providers with their real estate transactions.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that you found your space, your niche to like be like, I'm going to help them. And you know what? I think it really helped that you were in the healthcare field by yourself. So you firsthand saw like what was needed, what was missing, what you could help with, what they were looking for.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's like almost like super valuable to have that background.
Right. And just knowing, again, for working in a hospital setting or in the healthcare industry, just um, with physicians and doctors, just there is they're passionate on what they do, and they have a big heart. And me seeing some of the things that you know, they they just kind of don't forget, like when they're already on in a space, and then
Yeah.
they just sign the lease without knowing, like, oh, I just lost tens and thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, I feel for them. I'm like, come on, let me help you. This
Yeah.
is not this is how it shouldn't happen. So
Yeah.
residential real estate and commercial real estate is such a whole different world.
Wow.
Whole different world. Like
Yeah.
it's with residential real estate, you go on the market, you find a house in Redfin, Zillow, you put an offer, and you go on a contract, and that's it, right? In commercial real estate, it's different. 80% of commercial real estate is leasing, and so you're supposed to go on the market, and it's not public knowledge. It's not like you can see the comps and see how much your neighbor paid for, because it's not public knowledge. So you need someone that would, well, one, hire a representation. That's one of the common mistakes that I see business owners do, healthcare providers, business owners, is that they don't have representation. They negotiate themselves, thinking, oh, I can talk
I
to the
can do it.
landlord, call the number on the sign, and they fall in love in one space. They fall in love with one property
Without looking at other options and what's available.
without looking at other options. So in commercial, what you're supposed to do is that you go on the market, look at all your top options, pick the top 2 or 3 properties to negotiate on. And unlike residential, you put an offer, you already bind it. Now in commercial leasing, you're supposed to you negotiate on non-binding basis through an LOI, letter of intent, or request for proposal, and submit that to the landlords, and it takes about maybe 2 or 3 rounds to go back and forth, because the landlord's not going to give you the best terms on the first round. And when they know they're competing against each other, or competing with other landlords, they will give you the best terms eventually. But you're not going to know that unless you have someone who is helping you with who's an expert, and not just a general real estate agent. I worry about they primarily just do residential. You need someone who's really good in their craft and specialize in your industry.
Yeah.
And again, you negotiate, and then you get the best terms, and then you pick, and then you feel good that you got the best.
Yeah.
You're not leaving any money on the table. That you got the best terms from that landlord.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
That is something to think about, because I feel like a lot, like you said, like that's a lot of mistakes that healthcare providers are doing. And the more that you bring awareness to it and let them know, like, hey, you got to find someone who specializes particularly with your industry, it's going to be the best outcome for them.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And what are some other misconceptions or mistakes that you were seeing out there that maybe you want to bring more awareness to?
The other thing I want to say would be, if you're already a business owner, is not knowing when your lease is expiring. So for healthcare providers specifically, they're long-term leases. They're 5, 7, 10 years. For dentists, veterinarians, we're looking at 10 years, because there's so much build out involved. There's so much money invested in that space. But so once they're set in that space, they forget when their lease is up, and they just sign the lease right away. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm here for another 5 more years or 10 more years. What they don't realize is that you can renegotiate that lease again, because you're actually, again, leaving money on the table. They tend to just agree whatever the landlord says, and the landlords are very smart. They wait until it's like 2 to 3 months, and they're like, oh, I know they're not leaving anyway, and they would charge them so much more. And say, for example, like I said, it's not public knowledge. If you're paying $35 per square foot, by year tenure, they're $45 per square foot. And when you renew, you're gonna start at 45, right? Because that's what the landlord's gonna say. Like, hey, let's just continue on.
Yeah.
When your person next to your neighbor is paying $25 per square foot, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars you're leaving again on the table, because you're you don't surround yourself with people that would help you
Yeah.
negotiate that for you, because it's not your expertise, right?
Yeah.
And so from there again, time, they forget that their lease is up, and they don't have enough time is to and if you don't have time, you don't have this, you can't create a strategy or posture, a game plan to negotiate with that landlord
Mm-hmm.
or with that seller or
Yeah.
whatever the case. If you're leasing, you need at least 12 months. And if you're building a building, if you're relocating or expanding, you need about 18 to 24 months. So just knowing when you need, when your lease is up and what your next move is very critical. And that's one thing that most business owners forget or just miss when they're, in terms of commercial real estate.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Your role is so important then, because all these healthcare providers are so busy. They've got their family, they've got their patients, their business,
Right.
inventory. They're overseeing so many things. So I can see how the landlords would have the upper hand in this, and like reminding them like last minute, like, oh, by the way, like you should have somebody that's fighting for you and looking out.
Right.
Because that can be so stressful. I'm like, oh man, another thing on my plate. I already have so many things I need to take care of.
Exactly. Yes,
Right?
that's exactly what's happening. And so we find that there's such a need in this market, specializing in healthcare, and like you said, they're so busy with their patients, and these healthcare providers, they're always growing, they're always expanding, and that's the last thing they want to do, and
Yeah.
they forget. And so we find that that's like, there's a need for that, and we're out there telling, help, business owners, healthcare providers, that you need representation. You just hire. It's no brainer, because much like residential real estate, we're compensated by the seller and the landlord. It's no brainer to have representation, have someone do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
So again, these when they're already in the space, just lease renewals is something that I see as a common mistake that they make.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do want to move or relocate, is to have that right timing in the market.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Sounds like some very big mistakes that can be very scary, but when you have
Costly mistakes.
Yes, my goodness. That's why you're here today, to break
Yes.
those misconceptions and bring awareness.
Yes,
Now, I'd
yes.
like to ask you, as far as marketing goes, how are you getting the word out there about yourself and the type of businesses that may possibly need your helping hand, and like all this invaluable information that you just gave me today? Like, I feel like more people need to know about this.
Yeah, so our company CARR, we do we're very big in social media. So we have an Instagram page and Facebook page, and Google, but also primarily in the DC metro area. It's a small industry for us, so we have the key players. We have the commercial lenders, the contractors that specialize in our industry, architects, CPAs. So just kind of going out to our sphere of influence, our COI, and then telling all their clients, like, hey, by the way, these are valuable resource for you. If your lease is up, please have a conversation, have your lease reviewed by a broker specialized in this field. What else? And just really, we're word of mouth, from doctors and our healthcare providers, our clients.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
Yeah.
And now, do you have a team with you? Are you doing everything yourself, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that, because we do have a big team. We have, and it's a nationwide team. We have our CEO, our leadership team. We there's about, I want to say, just under 200 agents now in our country. So even though we're all remote, we're all work as a team together. We discuss all our transactions in the DMV Metro itself, there's about 3 agents. The three of us also help and work together with all our clients.
Yeah,
So,
I love that.
yeah.
Cool. Teamwork makes the
Yeah.
dream work, right?
Yes, it sure does.
And now, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years as a person and with your business?
Well, I see myself just really growing this business and in having like you said, just making it more people, healthcare providers, more aware of the services that we provide. I feel like it's still not out there. We still see a lot of, we get into a transaction or in the picture very late, and we have to do a lot of I don't want to say damage control, but like we're trying to do as much as we can. But yeah, just growing the business, making it more known in the healthcare community.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
You sound like a very busy woman. I'd like to ask you what you do to take time for yourself to relax and enjoy life,
Gosh, that's
if possible.
yeah, that is a good question. I am a mother of three, and I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Oh, you're busy.
They definitely keep me busy. And they're involved in club sports, and year-round sports, and it's hard.
Yeah.
But I try to what I like doing is traveling, and just doing some self-care, some massages here and there, and then just meditating.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that, because as a mom, you have to take care of everybody, and you got to remember to take care of yourself. So I'm glad you're getting those massages and meditation in.
We are trying. Yeah.
You guys are superheroes. So yeah.
So
yeah. And then I would like to ask you, is there anything maybe that I have not touched on about your business or yourself or your industry that you would like to bring more awareness to or just talk about?
What else can I tell you? So with healthcare and commercial real estate, what else can I tell? Oh, well, we bring the team together. So one of the things that we provide as a value is that if someone comes to us, a dentist, a veterinarian, a physician, a physical therapist, whatever, a med spa, they sometimes at a loss and they don't know, this is my dream, I just don't know how to start.
Mm-hmm.
So what we help with that. We help bring the team together, the right team, not just any team, but the right team, the trusted team that can really make that dream happen.
Yeah. So
starting with the right lender, not just a regular commercial specialized lender that would do, that specialty, the dental or, medical or whatnot. And attorneys that will protect them with their lease reviews. Again, this is the difference between residential commercial is that with commercial, there's no standard contract, there's no standard lease.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to be reviewed, and not just by you and I. It needs to be done by an attorney, and not just a regular attorney, someone who actually they love doing lease reviews, because we're talking 40, 50, 80 pages of paperwork, and there's so much language that you don't understand there. So having that, having that on the team, and also the contractor that will build the space for you. It's very specified. So if you're opening up a surgery center, animal clinic, or animal hospital, or a dental office, very specialized. Not just, you can't just pick anybody that your family member referred you.
Yeah.
It has to be someone that have done this many times, who knows how to do the plumbing, the mechanical, the right architect.
Yes.
That would check zoning, things that you would never think, like, oh, well, I want this space, I want that property. Well, guess what? That property is, it's not
the right fit for your business.
Fit for an animal hospital. It's not the right zoning. And, and again, those are common mistakes too, because they would go execute a lease, sign a lease, and and they can't open their business.
Oh my
But they're now
goodness.
stuck with a 10-year lease that they have to pay for. Then you looking at lawsuits and like,
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
so um CPAs, helping with their business plan, and with those projections and revenues, and just like marketing, IT, and just the right staff, the credentialing. So we help with putting that team together to make that dream come true,
Yeah.
to open that practice or that business.
Super important.
So,
This is
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, do you have like a memorable moment of when you helped maybe one of your clients find like their dream space? And how did that make you feel when you were able to like help them find that location that they've always wanted?
Well, that's where my passion comes in. Like, I just love that rewarding, fulfilling feeling. Like, and it all started really when I was doing real estate and helping my coworkers in the hospital, my colleagues, the doctors I was working with, nurses and physical therapists. That's how my real estate career started. I just love the feeling of helping them, and it's that American dream of owning a home.
Yep.
And then now transition to like healthcare providers, like helping them with that dream of opening their own practice and not working for somebody, and that independence, that financial wealth too. Like, it's
Yeah.
just it's such a rewarding feeling. And I always tell them too, is the transaction is going to go up and down, right? You're going to go through a roller coaster
Yep.
of emotions, and I guide them through that too. Like, hey, you're going to have you're going to doubt this. You're going to
Yep.
you're going to back out, and you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, you're going to question yourself. Am
Yeah.
I doing the right thing? But once sometimes I feel like I'm a therapist too.
Right?
And I'm like, hey, just FYI, this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to try to guide you the whole way.
Yeah.
And once we go through those humps and bumps in the road,
Yeah.
and we open this beautiful practice with beautifully designed practice, and it's like in a year or two they're like, oh my gosh, my revenue is this much, I wouldn't have done this without you. And that's why I do what I do. I
Yeah.
love what I do, and that's just the rewarding feeling that
you get from this. Yeah,
yes,
I
yes.
love that. And not only are you knowledgeable and very skilled in your craft, you're also very personable and friendly. Sometimes people can be very scary or intimidating, which is a good thing too, right?
Say that.
But yeah, like I feel like you're easy to talk to, and I feel like your clients are just going to feel comfortable in the fact that you genuinely care. Like that makes the world a difference too, because you
Appreciate
can
that.
get that energy.
Oh,
And I think that that's very important. So
Thank
you're in the
you.
right path.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And now for my final question, I'm going to ask if you have maybe an inspiring quote, a mantra, a saying, maybe somebody told you something that stuck out with you. Would you mind sharing that with us and leaving that message with our audience?
Well, I just live by, and this has just always been my I guess, how do you say it? Just like what I live by, like you
Words
said.
to live by, yeah.
In my industry, real estate, there are very, very bad brokers out there as well. And I just feel that, and sometimes it's tainted, right? Like, this real estate agent is this and that. I just had a bad experience. I know with every single client I work with, or just anybody, I treat them like they're my family. And then I treat every transaction with integrity. And I know that I can sleep at night knowing that I've done what's right and what's good for that client, what's best for that client.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just, this industry can be
Cutthroat.
Well, cutthroat for sure, because commercial is dominated by by male agents.
Yeah.
But also just there's really unethical, unprofessional, agents out there. And I just know that, I work with integrity, and that I know I sleep at night knowing that I've done what's good for the best interest of my clients. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
No.
you to basically just treat others with kindness and love, and and honesty.
Yeah, and I
So,
think all of that will come back. Like all that good energy, it always comes back to you.
yeah.
So I think that's a wonderful message to leave our listeners with. And thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me.